Right, we're about halfway through the second day of MRO Europe in Barcelona, and now we have joined the Ramco stand, and I've got Sam Jacob sitting next to me. Sam heads up their aviation business unit for Ramco.
That's right.
You've just come off stage for a session in the live theatre. And you've been talking about, well, it's right behind us, talking about the latest release of technology that you've announced. So talk us through, well, firstly, welcome and thanks for joining us on Aviation Cast.
Absolutely, it's great to be here, the nice city of Barcelona.
Yeah.
A little bit about, what we do and what has happened on the Go Live Theatre. So we are essentially a software provider specifically focused on the MRO industry. We do end-to-end process on an ERP type of a deployment.
Yep.
And over the last 2 years, we have done a massive investment in terms of developing capabilities for the MRO segment. And we have now brought out that product in terms of a version 6.0, and that's what was launched today. And we spoke at length in terms of what we bring to the table from an industry perspective.
Okay. Yeah. So talk us through what version 6.0 brings to market that 5.0 didn't have, for instance. So how much of a leap forward is 6.0?
Yeah, so it's a good question and probably the right question at this context. But essentially, we are focused on the MRO segment, so that's what has changed from probably the earlier versions.
Okay.
So a lot of capability has been developed in managing the processes around this particular industry segment, and I can probably describe these capabilities in terms of around 5 to 6 broad themes.
Yeah.
Right. The first being a complete end-to-end capability for the engine maintenance process. Now, traditionally, this segment of engine maintenance has been kind of left as forgotten because it's complex. So we don't have good software applications to manage that process at the level of depth that it should be managed. So typically, you have a work order management system, but that doesn't get into the technical elements of the engine management process. And that's what we have addressed here. Now we have a lot of capability.
For all types of engines?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is configurable to be managed, managing all types of engines. Most important, all of these will have fairly standardized process, so it doesn't vary between engine types.
Okay.
So we cover the entire gamut from gate 0 to gate 4 processes, right from engine inception or reception into the MRO facility, the whole hog of planning, execution in terms of digital workflows, as well as finally the integrated supply chain and the billing aspect as well. So that's an important capability that we have developed.
And just for the users of this technology,
Yeah.
How does it change their processes, their work? Does it make it more efficient, more
Absolutely.
quicker?
So if you look at the major theme that has been running around as far as this conference is concerned and the event, it is all about the challenges that MROs are facing with respect to turnaround times, capacity problems, and all of those things.
Yeah.
So one of the ways by which these challenges can be addressed is to simply add physical capacity. I mean, you can have today you have, let's say, running 8 engine lines. You can probably expand it by another 3, 4, whatever it is. But another way of looking at it is also to see how best we can extract more out of the current investments, right? Yeah. So a non-scale, non-linear from a people perspective, from a physical infrastructure perspective, that is what we bring to the table here. And how do we do that? A whole lot of efficiencies in terms of automation of business processes, reducing wait times where, let's say, a mechanic is waiting for certain decisions, let's say from a customer in terms of approvals. So all of that, the system, kind of tracking it and automating it where possible, and where decision aids can be provided to key players in the value chain. For example, we have built up a lot of automated scheduling functions, which kind of enables those efficiencies. I can talk a lot about it, but that's exactly what we are trying to do.
Okay, so going back to these pillars then, so you've got the engine.
And the next part will be what we would call as a digital thread. See, the difficulty with this industry is that MROs are kind of uniquely sandwiched between, let's say, the customer on one side, and you have OEMs and part suppliers on the other side. So trying to optimize an MRO process within an MRO boundary kind of limits what you can really do. I mean, if you really want efficiencies, then you need to start looking at it as a complete value chain, right? So that's another important pillar that we've been working on.
Yep.
So we have now brought in integrations between all of these players that I talked about. A lot of functionality on managing OEM content, the technical digital data, moving it into the ERP system, building up digital task cards, serving it into the mechanics space using our mobile platform. So you can actually have a digital shop floor, if I can say so. Including all these electronic signatures and all of those things. We have now a completely revamped customer portal capability that allows you to interface with your customers, taking in service requests, providing them visibility in terms of invoicing, work progress, customers being able to download teardown reports at the end of the visit. So basically a complete digital platform that will allow this business to be run as efficiently as possible. So that's kind of the second pillar that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. And so you've launched. The launch is happening now.
Yeah.
Is it currently being used in operation? Did you build this with a partner, and so it's actually being used and tested in real life?
Absolutely. So we have worked with quite a lot of our partners, and honestly speaking, our approach to problem solving in this industry has always been to work closely with our customers.
Yeah.
So they know the industry. They know the challenges, and we are there to solve those challenges, and that's the approach that we have taken for version 6.0 also. So a lot of these pain points or problem areas that we have picked up to be solved has come from our existing customers. We are already deploying version 6.0 in a few customer engagements. We have started with Korean Air for their engine maintenance facility. That implementation has started around 3 months back. We are working with an existing customer of ours on the engine space called Aero Norway. They're based out of Norway, as the name suggests. And we are helping them to upgrade to the latest version, and we are somewhere midway through that particular process as well. So very, very closely engaged with our customers and partners on this journey.
So give me a sort of stand back general assessment of how the industry is digitizing. Where is it on its journey to real proper digitization of this sector? Are we still quite low down in the foothills and got quite a mountain to climb, or
very true. It is a huge challenge, and there's no doubt about it, and the challenge comes from first of all the complexity of what we are dealing with, right? I mean, it is very easy to stitch a process for the happy path, if I can call it, but the problems or the real difficulty comes in how you're managing exceptions,
Right.
And unfortunately in the MRO world, exceptions are more the norm rather than the real exceptions, right?
You can expect exceptions.
Exactly. So how robust is the tool to manage and capture these exceptions and still enable the flow? I mean, that's essentially one challenge that we have tried to address. The second is huge adoption challenges. You're talking about a workforce adoption challenge in terms of getting mechanics onboarded on a digital platform.
What is the barrier to adoption? What do you hear the pushback might well be?
It is a simple change management problem of taking a person who is very comfortable in a pen and paper world to bringing them onto the digital world, and also addressing true challenges in terms of how a digital platform can really help them, because end of the day we need to be conversant of the sheer fact that a mechanic's time is valuable and it has to be maximized for the value that they are producing in terms of repairing an engine or an airframe, right? So the time that is spent not doing that is time lost. So our challenge has been to provide them a system that is very, very conducive to their environment. Imagine like if you have the task card in its current format, digitized, that becomes much more easier for them to relate to rather than taking them out of that environment.
Good and experienced mechanics are scarce, and
Absolutely.
so they're extraordinarily busy.
Absolutely.
I mean, because as we know, because of the demand that's on them. So I guess you suspect anything that comes in to make their lives a bit more, a little easier. To sort of would be welcomed.
Absolutely. Another challenge that we have seen working in this industry, especially on the engine maintenance side, is the requirement for engineering expertise. So it's a very complicated industry, or from a process perspective, and especially when it comes to non-routines and managing the repair schemes. Once a non-routine is detected, you need a lot of engineering support, and that typically becomes a bottleneck. Now, if we have a method by which that expertise can be elevated into a system, and that system then responds appropriately, that becomes hugely beneficial. So you're kind of removing a huge bottleneck from an engineering perspective onto that particular value chain.
Yeah.
And that is where we have also developed a lot of capability to manage, core engineering challenges in terms of work scope management, work scope upgrades, form fit function match, how alternates are getting managed, and all of those things.
Yeah, okay. Time's nearly up for this particular conversation, but I know we have spoken to your colleague Manoj about this in more detail, and ABNcast will be producing a longer version of an interview on that in the coming weeks. But just before we finish, it's been busy 2 days in Barcelona. I think for a second day, it's actually quite busy today. So how do you feel about what do you feel about the industry's prospects going forward?
Clearly, the industry is at an inflection point. I mean, I've not seen this type of vibrancy and energy on the MRO side of the house as far as the industry is concerned. So, the huge challenges that is being thrown in front of the aviation industry, and clearly the MROs have a big part to play in terms of helping the business. The business of aviation is all about helping airlines fly their equipment, right? So. And I think that's what has clearly resonated throughout this event. We have seen quite a few interesting solutions from a lot of players within the industry, and we hope to contribute our bit towards that in helping the core players to perform efficiently and contribute towards those constraints and challenges in managing them.
It seems like an exciting time, and changes with us. So that's always unsettling, but it's always can be for the good as well, can't it?
That's true.
So look, Sam, thanks for joining us on ABNcast at MRO Europe, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Cheers.
it was a pleasure.